Thank you all for being here. Please use the chat function down at the bottom if you have questions for us. So we are going to, I'm going to give a few little updates admission-wise, and then I will open the floor to Shannon Woods, who is our Associate Director of Financial Aid. So I will then open the door to her, and you guys can feel free to ask any financial aid questions there. As far as admissions goes, we've had many questions about our orientation program. So I wanted to let everyone know that we are indeed having an orientation this year. We have set aside the dates of August 17th through the 19th. So it will be a 3-day orientation. There will be the option to come to campus, or there will be the option to attend orientation in a remote way. And we will be sending out more detail about that as soon as we have that. But mark your calendars, August 17th through the 19th. In the past, we have had an introduction to orientation program that traditionally has run the week before orientation. And this year we are doing something a little bit different. We are incorporating some of that material you would have absorbed in Introduction to Law into our orientation program. And then we are also going to be releasing more information about a Barbary program. So that is our bar prep program, but they have lots of other components. And one of those is it's about 2 weeks long, roughly an hour to 2 hours per day of interaction for incoming students to learn a lot of great things about case reading, case briefing, different components of the law, and all of that will be really helpful for when you begin law school. So we will be sending out lots more information about that, the ability to sign up for that, and probably some information coming from our deans who are doing a lot of organizing of that program. So that will be coming out soon. So I am going to, we can chat more about admission stuff. Feel free to put questions in the chat there. But I'm going to open the floor to Shannon at this time. Actually, first I'd like Jessica and Jordan to raise their hand and say hi to everybody. I'm going to open the floor to Shannon now. So she is going to say hi to you guys and make herself available for questions. So please go ahead, Shannon.
Hi. So hi guys, I'm Shannon Woods. I work in the financial aid office, like Leah said. I am the main person in that office that would help you with any financial aid questions you have. Anyone in our office can help anyone, but I'm the main person that does the graduate students. So I am probably the person that you will be sent to if you have any questions. You are always welcome to call me or email me. I'm not in the office right now, like most of us aren't, but if you call and leave a voicemail, I'll get right back to you and give you a call back. Or if you would like to email me, you can do that, of course, as well. And I'm sure Leah can provide contact information for anyone who's asked, or you can look me up on the website and find my information that way. I just want to take a few minutes to talk about kind of the most regularly asked questions about financial aid for law school and how that all looks. So hopefully if you were planning to get a financial aid award at this point, you would have already gotten that from us. We do everything electronically via email. So if you thought you were still waiting and that was fine, but you thought you had everything done, definitely contact us. You should have gotten it by now so we can help you figure out what's missing or what's going on there. And also, if you thought maybe originally you weren't going to need any additional financial aid, but now you're thinking, you know, because of times and all of that, that you might need some more help, it is not too late to apply and ask for that help. So feel free to contact me and we can talk about what that looks like and what you would need to do. So some of the regular questions I get include, when will I get my financial aid? So assuming you've done all the paperwork and requirements that you need to do for the loans that you get, and we'll email you constantly about that. We're pretty annoying that way. So you should know everything that is still required. Those funds will get refunded to you just before actual classes begin. So usually that's during the orientation for the fall semester. Most people we encourage to sign up for direct deposit, so hopefully you would have done that, and then you can get those funds via direct deposit. We do refunds at the beginning of each semester, so the financial aid you received is split in half for that school year. And like I said, if you want to do the direct deposit, but we do have a check option as well if you don't want to do that. The other questions I get are, well, what if what I was awarded is not enough for what I need? And that is the case for plenty of students, and we're here to help you with that. So on our website, we have a form section specifically on the financial aid website. And one of the forms on there is the budget adjustment form. And that is exactly what it sounds like. It's for you to ask for an adjustment to the budget we use for your financial aid, to request additional funds. You can request additional funds just for living expenses, moving expenses, childcare, medical costs. There's all kinds of things there. So if you think you might need help like that, feel free to look at that form and see what might apply to you. If you have questions about that form or concerned what you were hoping to get help with isn't there, definitely contact me and I can help you with that process. Not everything I can adjust for is on that form, just the most normal things that I get requested. And the last thing that people often ask is about their undergraduate loans. What happens to those when they start school? So essentially, all of the federal student loans that you have borrowed should go automatically into deferment while you're in school. That won't happen until the semester actually starts. So if you're in repayment now, or you're going to be entering repayment soon, that won't change. So those payments won't defer until school actually begins. Of course, as always with federal loans, if you were concerned about being able to make those payments or doing any of that sort of thing, you should definitely contact your servicer. They can help you with other deferment options other than that automatic in-school deferment. I would say that 99% of students with loans, their loans successfully go into deferment. There is no issue there, but it's important for you to stay on top of that. If your servicer is still asking for a payment after school has begun, that means something didn't happen. And at that point, unfortunately, it goes to you to make sure that things get adjusted. So at that point, you could contact your servicer to see if what's going on and work with them to, get that in-school deferment to happen. And that process is usually quick. But like I said, most of the time that's unnecessary. So that covers all the usual things that I hear from entering students and all the normal questions I have. Of course, feel free to use the chat to ask any other questions, or if you would like to contact me directly with your questions, since financial information can sometimes be something you don't want to share with a crowd on Zoom, I'm happy to help you individually.
Also, Shannon will be at our orientation program. She will be doing a few guest appearances. And so if anyone has questions at that time, so that's a little later in the cycle, it's probably best to get your questions out now, or to contact Shannon earlier rather than when you are at orientation. She will be there. So if there is anything else. Looks like we have a couple of questions there. Do you want to address those, Shannon?
Yeah. So Stephen Brown, you asked, would I be able to make a payment towards fall tuition before loans are dispersed? Absolutely. So if you have borrowed loans from us and you want to make a payment, you can do both of those things. If you decide you borrowed loans from us and then you decide you don't need those anymore, we can help you with that. If you want to make a payment, we'll definitely help you with that. So there's lots of flexibility there in how you want to make those payments and arrange all of that. And so we can definitely work with you. Now, I would say if you're planning to borrow all of your loans and also planning to make a payment, the payment obviously wouldn't make a lot of sense because it's just going to get refunded back to you. But if you're hoping to combine paying out of pocket and the loan options, that's definitely an option for you. So I hopefully that answered your question, Stephen. So it looks like Angelica is asking, is there a deadline for you guys to return financial aid forms back to us, loan documents and that sort of thing? The deadline is not ours, but tuition is due at the first day of classes each semester. So in order for us to pay those loans to your account to pay your tuition, you would need to, have everything set by then. So I usually recommend at this point in the year that you should do those things as soon as we ask for them. That way, if things come up or there are questions there, you know, we have time to work through those. But to be honest, if you submit your loan paperwork on December 1st, we will disperse your loans the next day. So there is not a hard and fast deadline for our office, but we do recommend you do those immediately just to make sure you're not ending up in a situation where you were expecting a refund that you don't end up getting right away. Let's see. So the expected dates for distribution, so I said during orientation, it's usually the Thursday or Friday before classes begin. So that depends on the processing schedule with the student accounts office, who's the office that actually issues those refunds. So it's usually either that Thursday or Friday. The direct deposit sign up will be issued and sent to you from the student accounts office, since they do all of that. So you'll get your first bill in mid-July, and that will include any of your pending aid that you've already accepted, and it will include information on the health insurance waiver and all the fees and that sort of thing, as well as a sign up to do that direct deposit online. So we have another question about the GPA requirement for the scholarships that you've been awarded. So essentially, the scholarships are checked, and Leah, if you want to jump in about any of this, I'll get started, but if I'm missing something, let me know. So we would check the scholarships, your GPAs, at the end of the first academic year. Most of our scholarships have a 2.9 GPA requirement to keep those. Generally, from what I've seen, if you don't make a 2.9, you lose your scholarship. There has in the past been a small amount of appeal process available to request maybe a small portion of your scholarship back, but that is probably not something you should assume will happen. It is pretty cut and dry. You either get your scholarship renewed or you don't. Let's see, and Paul, oh, okay, that's a question for Leah. Did I answer everybody? Are there any
I just want to, Olivia, thank you for posting your question here. I also wanted to just stress one thing that Shannon said about the GPA requirement. It is evaluated after the end of your first year. So some students worry that it happens in the middle of their first year. It's actually at the end of the first year. And after your first semester, your GPA is evaluated by our academic team. And so if it appears that there are some struggles that that you're experiencing, we have an enormous support system to help students so that this doesn't happen at the end of your first year. So, so please note that if your GPA feels really low after your first semester, please reach out, and there are many people who also reach out to you, but you know, take that help and use it to really improve your GPA for your second semester. And from Paul, Paul is asking if I can review the information about intro to law. So, so we are only having an orientation program that is 3 days long. So in the past, we had an introduction to law program that is not happening in the same format as it has in the past. So this year, our orientation, which will be mandatory for all incoming students, will take place the 17th, 18th, and 19th of August. And there is a Barbary component, which is something that you will be able to do at home during your own time, which will fill in a lot of the things that we have been teaching in the past through our Introduction to Law program. Some of the components of Introduction to Law from the past have also been weaved into our orientation, 3-day orientation program this year. So hopefully that answers your question, Paul. We will be sending out our orientation schedules being finalized this week. So as soon as I'm able to release that, I will release that information to everybody. So you will be able to see, and we'll discuss what does doing it remotely mean? If you want to come to campus, are you able to come to campus? So we are ironing out all of those details. So that will be released shortly.
The other thing I wanted to mention with that scholarship question is if you're receiving federal financial aid and for whatever reason you end up losing your scholarship or receiving a reduction of that scholarship, I can increase your financial aid award and what you're offered to help cover those costs. So you won't be stuck having a huge bill that you have no options for. So I just want to make sure everyone knows that that there will be other options if you end up losing that academic scholarship. I did see that Nanette caught my mention of the health insurance waiver, and that's about the requirement at Willamette. We have a requirement that every student has to have health insurance, and so how we do that is we automatically include that cost in the bill that we send out for the fall semester, the one that you'll receive in mid-July. That bill will include the cost for health insurance that semester, and then you'll be charged an additional amount for health insurance in the spring. So if you have other health insurance that you are going to be able to keep for your parents or a spouse or whatever, there is that waiver option so that you don't end up having to pay for an additional health insurance policy. But if you do not have health insurance through some other way, you are required to enroll in the Willamette student health insurance.
And we will be sending out more information about that when the opt-out, there's a period of opting out. So when that arrives, then we will send out information. I believe you will receive some information from the admissions team, but you will also receive some opt-out information from our Bishop Wellness Center. So they are the ones who run that program, and so you'll have the ability to opt out of that if you have other health insurance. Let's see. Caitlin is asking about the Barbary Prep. Oh yes, absolutely. So so Willamette Law School has a contract with this organization called Barbary. They do a lot of law school preparation from before you even set foot on the law school campus all the way through your academic time on campus, and then after you graduate for study for the bar exam. So so all of that is included in your tuition. There is no extra cost for any of these Barbary programs. When you arrive on campus, you will meet the Barbary reps that we have, and they will be able to give out a lot of information. But the Barbary program that we will be rolling that out around the beginning of July. So when your class schedules will be released, which we are saying right now is the week of July 6th, fingers crossed that we can live up to that promise. That is the plan. When that happens, we will also be releasing this Barbary program. And so you will get more information about how to complete that, how you log in, and all of those great details. And then once you are a member of Barbary, essentially, then you will have a lot of study guides, study aids, lots of different information that is available to you throughout your time at Willamette. And then I will reiterate again, your bar prep course is part of your tuition, and that is available once you graduate. So hopefully that answered that question.
Leah, I want to say something real quick. Because we keep mentioning that things are going to be sent to you and we'll be following up with you, it's important to know that we are making the transition now between your personal emails and emailing information there and sending them to your Willamette email addresses, which now you should have your login to. So if you're wondering where all of this is going, it's going to be going to your Willamette email address, and we will be using your personal email address less frequently, if ever, at this point in time. So if you have questions about how to log in, let us know, but that's where everything should be going from now
on. Tony is asking if our first year classes will be chosen for all of our incoming students, and the answer is yes. So if any of you are curious as to what those classes are, on our website under our Office of Student Affairs, there is a document called I'm going to butcher it, whatever it is, class schedule, something like that. You can access that, and that is an example of what a first year class schedule looks like. And right now it's divided into 2 sections. So section 1 and section 2, they each have a color. And so you can take a look at that and see what those classes would be. So those are assigned to all incoming students. That is the way that all ABA law schools do it across the country, so that ABA has certain requirements that we must follow. So there's the link there for any of those, any of you who are really interested to know, what are these classes they keep talking about? What will I be doing come August? Jordan made a great point about starting to look at your Willamette email. If you haven't already set up your Willamette email, please do so. If you don't know how, send me an email and I will resend the instructions to you. But everyone at this point should have received the instructions on how to set up your Willamette email account. One of the things that was sent, I believe yesterday or the day before, from Dean Dobbins is a survey about, we're kind of trying to get the pulse of students who will be starting this year and then are returning students. So if you haven't already, if you could please fill out that survey. That gives us a lot more information about how to proceed with the semester. Make sure all of our planning is incorporating everybody's needs, and that's really important to us. So this is your opportunity to give us your opinion on fall and remote versus residential education. So Nanette is asking about house sharing. The cohort divisions, Nanette, are absolutely random. We do not do those in the admissions office. They are done by our Office of Student Affairs, and so they will be making those decisions. I know in the past some students have reached out to our Office of Student Affairs and made a specific request. You can feel free to do that. I will say that most requests are not honored because it is such a random choosing of which cohort students belong to. So Paul is asking, how large is the 1L class? So we are anticipating between 115 and 120 1L students. We are close to that at this point, and I imagine throughout the summer we will see that number grow a little bit, but that is what our anticipated class size is. That is very similar to where we have been in the past. So last year on day 1, we had 125 students in our incoming class. So roughly around that size. It won't be larger than that. And I think that Dean Galini is still working out some of the cohort system. So for those of you who tuned in to our last discussion with the Dean, he did his best to answer as many questions as possible about what the fall will look like. Those are still hard things for us to determine, although we are working really hard. The governor in Oregon just signed an executive order. Today is the first day where masks are required in all public buildings. So things are changing all of the time. New things are happening. And so we don't quite know where we will be on day 1 of class, but we are flexible in our planning, and we are planning to offer many different ways so that students feel safe and are able to start classes and still build that community. So we're working hard on that. So we appreciate when you guys come to an event like this. Let's see, anything else?
Leah, I'm going to pop in one more time. As we're talking about things that are being emailed out again and all the communication that is coming at everybody, I wanted to let you know that we are on summer staffing hours here at Willamette, which limits the number of staff that we have working in each department. So if you email and you're waiting for a response and it's a little bit longer than you have experienced in the past, or if you have questions about something, feel free to email any one of us that you're looking at and ask a follow-up question, whereas about housing or anything in general, and we are happy to look into things for you. But if it's taking a little bit longer, that's probably why. But we're happy to follow up on anything that you guys have questions about.
This brings us to our Wednesday series. So thank you for joining us for our very first Wednesday series. These will be held on most Wednesdays on for the month of July, and then also the beginning of August. So they'll be from 3 to 4, and our next one will be our student mixer, which is July 8th. And so this will be a great way to get to know your incoming class and see some familiar faces and some new faces. And then we'll have another 1L panel on July 15th. So that'll be really great to talk with students that were just 1Ls and going into the 2L year. So you can ask them anything. Great questions would be around studying and study groups and things like that. Different study methods. You can ask about student life, student orgs, exams, basically any question you have around your first year and what that looks like. They'll be able to help answer that for you. And then on July 22nd, we'll have our alumni panel. So you'll get to hear from different alumni from all over with all different backgrounds, and then kind of hear about their time at Willamette and then how that led into their career path and what they chose and why they chose that. So there again, it will be an open panel, so you can just ask any question you have about that. And then on August 5th, we'll have our 1L faculty panel. So this will be a great way to get to know your faculty that you'll have for your first year. So you can ask them, about expectations and, what the classroom looks like and different things like that. They're super friendly, really excited for our incoming class, and excited to get to know each and every one of you. And then lastly will be August 12th, which will be our student orgs. So each of our student orgs will have an introduction and talk about who they are and what they do and different things that they do throughout the year and their focus group for that student org. And then we'll have breakout rooms so that you can go to each one individually and have a more in-depth conversation and kind of find out which ones that you're interested in getting involved with. So we're really excited about this Wednesday series and hope that each of you take advantage of it and get to know a little bit more about Willamette.
I see a few more questions there, Shannon, in the chat.
Yes.
You want to?
Yeah, I'll dive right in there. So Caitlin was asking about work study opportunities. So it sounds like based on your question, you probably already know that 1Ls are not encouraged to work. So those opportunities are for 2Ls and above. That can often start in the summer. Things are a little weird this summer, but hopefully we'll get back on track for next year. So I don't have a lot of information about opportunities and that sort of thing. I kind of do the back end stuff with getting you, financial aid for that time or federal work study funds for that time. I know there's a placement office at the law school that can definitely help you with that. So that's probably where I would suggest you start if you have questions about that. And then let's see, I saw a few. Is there another way to upload forms on the site versus emailing them to our office? Unfortunately, no, not at this time. We're working on trying to get that capability there, but it's probably going to be a while, just to be honest. So emailing the forms for me, if you're concerned about sending that information without any kind of security, you're welcome to put a password on and send me that password separately. If you still aren't comfortable with that, you're welcome to mail that information to our office. We're not in the office a lot right now, but we are picking up our mail regularly and we will be able to get it that way. So whatever you feel most comfortable with as far as submitting that information to us would be fine. We don't have a working fax machine, so that is not an option. I see another question from Kieran. If you were awarded both the unsubsidized direct loan and graduate plus loan, is that the maximum amount that can be accepted each semester, or can you only accept one of those per semester? So you are welcome to accept both of those. That total in aid, which I think is around $67,000 for the year, And that's the total amount of aid I can offer you, includes any scholarship you were awarded, plus both types of loans. So you are welcome to accept that entire amount or just a portion. It's up to you. The direct unsubsidized loan has a slightly lower interest rate and lower fees, so you should borrow that one first if you're not going to borrow all of it. But otherwise, you're welcome to borrow that whole amount. And then that budget adjustment form I mentioned earlier is for if you need more than what has been offered there. So if you think those funds will not be enough, then you can use that form to request additional funds.
Do we have any other questions for anyone on the panel? Okay, you can also unmute yourself if you want to chat with us. So I'll give it another couple of minutes. Anything else from you, Shannon, or Jessica or Jordan, I'd like to comment on at this point?
No, just to reiterate that while we're not in the office, our entire staff is working full hours still. So if you email us, we are very responsive. If you call and leave a voicemail for us, we will get back to you fairly immediately. So although we're not in our usual spot, we are all still working. And so we will definitely get back to you.
Okay. Shannon, what is your email address? Can you?
Yeah, do you want me to just put contact?
Yeah, why don't you type that down there?
Yeah,
that's helpful so that students have your contact information.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
so the phone number I'm putting here is a direct to my voicemail. You will just go directly to my voicemail. But if you leave a voicemail while I am actively working, I usually get back to you in about 15 minutes. So I try to be pretty on top of that. So feel free to use whatever you're most comfortable with, voicemail or email, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can.
Okay. Well, I think that that's all we have for today. Once again, thank you all for joining us, and we hope to see you at the next Wednesday series. Shannon put her contact information there. Of course, if you need to get a hold of the admissions office, we are at law-admissions@willamette.edu. You can always look up. You can always look us up on the website for our individual email addresses also. For any of the email that you receive from the admissions office, you can always reply to that email and we will get that reply also. So thank you everyone for joining us, and I hope you have a fantastic day, and I hope we see you at the next event. Thanks so much. Bye. I will end the meeting now.